Hey everyone, I'm doing a giveaway of a free sweatshirt. You get to choose between one of the two shown on the screen right now. The link will be in the description. And with that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. Clearly, Baris is a man to steer clear from. My name is Scott Asil, and I'm an investigative journalist. Or, well, I was. I first met Baris on an Uber ride gone wrong, and after a few things I noticed out of place, I decided to focus on him a bit. I felt like there was a story there. It's really hard to explain, but as a journalist, sometimes you get that feeling in your gut when you're close to something. When there's a deeper truth that you feel like you can scratch at and discover. And I felt that way one night when a car pulled up. I just needed to go downtown for a friend's birthday, and I remember the gruff, Turkish man I found when I got into the passenger seat. "Ugh, I'm Baris," he said, joyfully as he hoisted his body towards me for a handshake. He had a dark complexion and a gruffy beard. Before I could even introduce myself or say hello, he put a tray of pastries and snacks in my lap. "See, I cook for all my guests. Turkish treats." After I took the platter, I said thanks and had a bite. And let me tell you, they were amazing. Some savory, some sweet, some little nuggets of caramelized goodness, and some nuts and dried fruit. I'd felt like I'd stumbled into a pop-up restaurant. Delicious pleasures filled my stomach as I munched on the treats. He didn't talk much on the drive, but as we got near Anatolia Street and Thrace Avenue, he told me how much he loved America. As a journalist, you get used to the patriotic immigrant routine. And as passionate as he sounded, I'd had this conversation a million times before. He was nothing but a lowly butcher in Turkey, he told me, before he lost his job and had to create furniture. Even at the end of the ride, when he let me out at the stop, he beamed a happy smile and thanked me for enjoying his pastries. I thought little of it. Except to say, I was pleasantly surprised at how tasty these treats had been. I left him at the car, and interestingly, he didn't go anywhere. He put the car in park and waited. For what? I didn't know. I went to my party and moved on with my life. And for a week or two, forgot the whole experience for the most part. Really though, his story stuck with me. I'd met a lot of gung-ho immigrants turned Americans, but somehow in the political climate I was in, I really felt like Baris' story had something to add. Here he was, not only working a frustrating job, but doing it with extreme adulation. Maybe he could be a personal interest story, I thought to myself. Ever the studious journalist, I decided I needed to find out more about Baris. I never did get his last name, but through some sleuthing, I managed to get my hands on his address. I can't say how, except to say that Uber gives you a license plate, and journalists are known to have friends that can do favors. Vertibly late one evening, I finally go for what I was looking for. Baris Bayram. He immigrated from Turkey in 2007, but what I found was far from an uplifting immigrant story. That he had been a butcher was true, but he was also a disgraced imam. The records I found were vague, intentionally so, but led one to believe that he committed some form of abuse in his leadership role. Furthermore, records popped up of him in Syria. This is before the Civil War broke out. Even I, a seasoned journalist, was shocked at the number of records on this man, and the intrigue that came with it. Writings attributed to him raged against the Westerners, their value, and called for a revenge on the Fourth Crusade. I wondered in all honesty if this was in fact the same man who gave me my ride some weeks before. Now, that wasn't everything. So far, the story is a little interesting, but I decided to tail Baris. I had never done that before, but I had to get to the bottom of this. He was easy to track. I thought, if I used the Uber app, and sure enough, I followed him some nights from pickup to drop-off, occasionally questioning his guest after they finished their ride. All had the same thing to say. He was pleasant, wonderful, and sweet. Generally, that's where a journalist might leave it. But one night, I noticed something. He had dropped off the app, presumably had gone on break, but was parked outside a busy stretch of town, outside the nightclubs. A young girl approached him, and they discussed something at the window, and she got in. He drove a ways away with her, onto a highway. After about 2 minutes, I saw a commotion in the cab. I could barely make it out, but I saw her gesticulating wildly. I saw him come with his bag, bear-like fist, and smash it on her head, like a hammer fist to the top of the head, and she settled down and slumped in her seat. I trailed him for 27 miles after that, to a little patch of field outside the town. Even though we were in the middle of nowhere, I pulled back far enough before he stopped the car that he didn't notice me. I took out my phone and, with the zoom function, tried to get a sense of what was happening. He lugged the body of that young girl into an old shack just off the road, and a dim light came on the inside. I got out of my car to creep closer. For every step I took, I probably lost an ounce of sweat. As I neared the cabin, I heard something rustling, some pounding, and the occasional grunt. The ugh that I had heard Baris make that first time he gave me a ride. I inched closer to the window, an old, grimy window, and peeked in. Baris stood there, over the nude, partially dismembered body. He turned to chuck a piece of wood into an old oven before turning back to the cadaver. With a deft stroke of a butcher, his massive arms and torso turned, flipped, flayed, and chopped at the body, throwing some into the oven and nearly wrapping other parts in plastic. Off to the side of him stood a bag of flour and sugar, and on the counter of the oven lay that tray, the same tray I'd eaten from, empty and covered in crumbs. He was serving up his customers a little more than good service and gratitude. Death is funny, because, as a journalist, it doesn't faze you the way it might. I saw what Baris was doing, and while I did feel sick to my stomach, I also felt like the story would be more of a home run. I stepped back to try to get back to my car and call the police, but the moment I took that first step, I heard a loud crushing sound, and I realized I'd broken some sort of glass bottle, or window pane that lay strewn on the floor. I hoped it was nothing, but almost immediately realized I was in some deep shit. For Baris's head snapped up and looked directly at me through the window. His torso was covered in blood, and his hands were dripping in it. His face had a wild-eyed, kind of passionate expression, as if I'd interrupted an artist just about to finish his masterpiece. He lunged at the window, and I turned and ran my ass off. To my surprise, when I got to my car and expected him to be right behind me, he was nowhere to be found. Everyone thought I was lying when I told the police and my boss at the paper. That is, until they went to the cabin and found a half-dismembered body of the girl. My notes on Baris formed the backbone of a manhunt that, as of today, has revealed nothing. I also discovered that the FBI had their eyes open on Baris before, but unfortunately, he slipped away. The best guess was that he was operating in Canada, or perhaps the American Midwest. I hope they find him soon. Lyft is fairly new in my town. With the amount of DUIs and the lack of dependability from the cabs around here, I was pretty excited when it launched here in March. Lyft, for those who don't know, is a ride-sharing app where you request a ride and are matched up with the nearest driver who proceeds to give you a ride to your destination. It started out slow here, but now it's less than a 5-minute wait. No more would I have to spend an hour waiting for a smelly cab or ride home with a friend who is driving despite their intoxication. Thursday nights are typically when I use it. I get dolled up and meet up my girls at the club about 20 minutes away from my apartment complex. We meet at the Old Town Saloon, which, with their loud trance music and strobe lights, is nothing like a saloon of the Old West. But we like to dance and get some unassuming fellas to buy us drinks with the hopes that they'll get lucky. The obligatory Thirsty Thursday has dirt cheap drinks so we don't feel too bad leading them on. I request a lift, get to the saloon around 9, and there's already a line to get in. It's not the nicest of places, but there really isn't a whole lot to do here, and I'll be damned if this town doesn't enjoy a plethora of cheap drinks. My friends were already near the front of the line when I joined them. We dance, we laugh, we flirt, and we drink. We always make sure to keep an eye on our drinks to avoid any particularly rapey scenarios. I started feeling a little too drunk for my liking, thinking the next one will send me over the edge. I pull my iPhone 4 out of my purse and see it's only 12:26. Come on, Sarah, you're better than this. But I decide not to listen to my drunken self and get out of there before I end up doing something, or someone, I would regret. I let my friends know that I was calling it a night and getting a lift home. Liz, Cindy, and Dua wanted to stay, but Maddie decided to share a ride with me. She wasn't as tipsy as myself and wanted to make sure I made it home alive. She lived about 1.5 miles away from me, so I didn't figure it would be that big of a deal. We walk outside to see there's still a line, though it has mostly died down. I use my Lyft app and a driver responds to the request within 5 seconds. I see the driver, Mitch, is about 3 minutes away and slide my phone back into my purse. It's a half a block from the entrance to the corner, which is where I decided we'd wait. Less than a minute later, a black Toyota Corolla pulls up in front of us and rolls down the passenger window. "Do you ladies need a lift?" "Mitch?" I ask, confirming my driver. "Yes, ma'am. Hop on in." I open the passenger door. Maddie opens the door behind me, and we both hop in. "Where are we headed?" I see him better now that my head isn't peeking through a window, and I'm instantly attracted to this man. Dark black hair slicked back to show his perfectly normal forehead above his ghostly blue eyes. I would have thought he were one of the twins from The Following, had it have not been for his thin, well-kempt beard. I'm doing my best to recall everything that happened, but I wasn't in my right mind. "Back to your place." I managed to keep a straight face as I replied. "Sarah," Maddie yelled, pretending to be surprised. "First and knees, please." Mitch lets out a little chuckle as he fiddles with his phone and starts driving. "Feel free to put on whatever station you want, or use the aux cord." "It's fine," I reply. After all that dubstep, I could use some Eagles in my life. "She always likes to take it to the limit," Maddie added, commenting on the song that was playing. "You girls sure are clever." He let out another laugh. "Did you have a fun night?" "Certainly feels that way." I feel like I'm slurring. "Where's your pink mustache?" "Ah, I haven't earned it yet. You have to give 30 rides, and you ladies are my 12th. Have to prove you're worth it, huh?" Maddie asked, jokingly. Mitch let out another laugh. "Something like that." "So, Mitch, get any crazy passengers?" I want to hear this beautiful man speak. Besides you? He gives off another chuckle. It's like music to my ear. I picked these people up from a rave one night. 2 extremely drunk girls and 1 sober guy. The guy was sitting where your friend is, rear passenger seat, and the girls were also in the back. The girl behind me asked my name, and I gave her a fake one. She starts telling me how cute she thinks I am and how I should take her to In-N-Out, and then give her some In-N-Out. The girl in the middle starts asking if they know me before she starts freaking out and thinking I'm a kidnapper. She's threatening to call her dad to beat my ass and starts trying to hit me while I'm driving. The dude is trying to grab her and keep her cool. The girl behind me tells me not to worry about her and keeps asking about In-N-Out. But I got them home safe and laughed my ass off after I did. "That's nuts," Maddie exclaimed. "Well, at least they didn't puke on you. Turn right into the complex here and make a left, right, just like an old school Nintendo," he stated. Got it. So far, I know this guy is cute, funny, likes the Eagles, and old school Nintendo. I figured, what the hell? Do you want to call me sometime? He looks over and smiles, an ever-charming grin. I would love to, Sarah. He pulls in front of my apartment and punches my number in his phone. I let him know to take Maddie home and I'll pay for it. She gets out and gives me a hug, then hops in the front seat. I stumble upon the stairs and unlock the door to my complex. As I open the door, I see Mitch drive off. I stumble in thinking I should eat some bread or pop some ibuprofen. But bed just sounds like the best option. My head hits the pillow and I'm out. I wake up with a terrible taste of hangover in my mouth, but only a mild headache. All that's on my mind is a breakfast burrito loaded with eggs, cheese, bacon, and potatoes. I pull my phone out of my purse and see 57 missed calls, 6 voicemails, and 8 texts. I check the call log to see some unknown number first followed by 56 calls from Brian, Maddie's boyfriend. My first clue that something must have happened. The first voicemail is from an unknown number. Voicemail 1, 12:33 a.m. Hey, this is Mitch from Lyft. I've been waiting outside the saloon for about 5 minutes now. I can wait another 5 minutes before I ding you as a no-show. Thanks, Sarah. It doesn't make any sense. Mitch was there. He gave us a ride. But the voice in that message was a lot deeper than the voice I remembered. The next string of messages were from Brian. Voicemail 2, 2:59 a.m. Hey Sarah, it's Brian. It's about 3 and Maddie isn't answering her phone. Maybe it's dead. But if you could let me know what's going on, I'd really appreciate it. His tone escalates throughout the next 4 messages, and he states he would have come over and knocked down my door if he had known where my apartment was. Mitch hadn't dropped her off? What if she went home with him? It doesn't sound like something she would do. After all, she had been with Brian for over 3 years, and she wouldn't sleep with someone she knew I was into. I decided to call Brian back. Sarah, is she with you? He sounds panicked. No, she should have been dropped off by Lyft around 1. Well, she's not here. She's not answering her phone or calling me back, and I'm freaking out. Well, come over and we'll try to figure this out. I'll text you the address. I hang up and go to my messages. The first is a canceled ride notification from Lyft. The next 6 are Brian. I reply to his thread with my address and apartment number. The 8th message is from a number I didn't recognize. I tap on it. 8:48 a.m. Make sure you keep your door locked. Apartment 209. It was a pleasure to meet you, Sarah. Mitch? I immediately called the number. It rings a few times before he answers. Good morning, sunshine. Where is Maddie? As of right now, I couldn't exactly tell you. I just got paid to take her to them. What I can tell you is that she is gone. They will take her to another country and either sell her off or keep her locked up and use her for their own fun. Either way, you'll never see her again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Were they playing some prank on me? Maddie and Mitch just screwing with me? What do you mean? Silence. Mitch! You should know by now, that isn't my name. I got paid to take her to them. It's what I do. I sell girls and they get turned into whores. I could feel the tears warm in my eyes. You should really watch who you get into cars with, Sarah. There are some real nut jobs out there. I'm only telling you this because I thought you were a nice girl. In this way, you won't have to constantly wonder what happened to your friend. Please. I choked through my tears. Please, don't do this. It's already done. There's no point in trying to look for her. She's long gone by now, as am I. And whatever description you told the cops, you can bet that won't be the way I look next time. Keep your door locked, apartment 209. It was nice to meet you, Sarah. And he hung up. I stood frozen in terror for what felt like an eternity. Then I pulled the phone away, down from my ear and dialed 911. As it rang, I could feel my stomach turn, so I ran to the toilet and let the burning vomit escape me. I told dispatch what was going on, and they sent over a couple of detectives. I explained to them and Brian what had happened that night before and the conversation that took place between me and whoever the hell the driver was. The detectives told me that this is not a new thing, just new to our area. These abductors target busy locations and will pull up to women and ask if they are for a ride, and if they need a lift. It was happening in major cities all across the country. The cars that were used in these abductions looked the part, but they were often stolen and had stolen fake plates. They assured me they would review tapes from cameras on the streets, find the closest cell tower the call was taken from, but not to hold out on hope. They hadn't found any of the girls. If I had actually paid attention to the driver, I would have seen he looked nothing like the one that was supposed to pick us up. And his car was a brown 2011 Chevy Malibu, but we got in a black Toyota Corolla. Because I didn't pay attention to the details, my friend is gone, and I will probably never see her again. I write this so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Please make sure the driver has your name before you offer it, and make sure you're getting into the right car. I will probably never see my friend again, and it's all my fault. I woke up to the sound of my head hitting the horn as I dozed off. I really didn't want to be doing this all night, but I gotta make a living and stand up isn't paying as well as I hoped. You see, driving people around is a new waiting tables. I get network and meet lots of new people. I sip on my energy drink and wait for a passenger needing a ride. Sure enough, one pops up and I accept. The location was only 5 minutes away. I begin to pull up to the curb of the hotel and see this beautiful girl walking my way. No way is she my passenger. I always get the ugly ones. She walks up and taps on my window. "Don't screw this up, James," I whisper to myself. "Hey dude, you're my Uber, right?" She asks with a sass in her voice. Yeah, sorry, jump in," I yelled. I unlock the door and she jumps in. I look back and see her looking into her purse. This girl was magical. I had never seen a woman so beautiful. Her hair was long, brown, and wavy. It flowed over the side of her face, letting her green eyes peek through. I had never thought of complimenting a nose until I had seen hers. How the hell do you have a pretty nose? But I was drawn to her lips more than anything. They were a bit pouty. They made themselves so appealing. "Hey, Are we going to go, cutie? She said with a smile. Yeah, of course, I said, still caught in her lips. The destination was a 30-minute drive. I never get excited about these, but for her, I wanted the drive to last all night. Do you ever see someone and immediately plan your future around them? I will build a future in my head of every imaginable moment we would have together. It's beautiful to be loved by someone and never know it. I feel deep down they know it's there. So what brings you to LA? I say, trying to make a small talk. Honestly, I don't know. I have no interest in acting or music. I don't have an artistic bone in my body, and I'm definitely not a model. She giggled as she said it. For the next 15 minutes, we chat, just trying to make her feel comfortable. We sit in kind of an awkward silence for 5 minutes. I see the GPS and it says 10 minutes left. I see her eyes looking at the floor and wonder what she's looking at. She has a look of disgust. Did someone throw up back there? Hey, you okay back there? I say over my shoulder. Yeah, can we hurry up? My friends just texted me and said they were in a rush. She said, not taking her eyes off the floor. Yeah, I guess. You could hear the annoyance in my voice. I love you. Can't you see I deserve you? We could have a great future together. Why do you want to leave me? Just say it to her, idiot. Tell her how you feel. Hey, what if we skip your friends and go somewhere? Just you and me. I say nervously. Oh, I'm sorry, but they're waiting on me and I have a boyfriend. I could hear her lies. Listen, if you don't like me, you just say it. You girls always think you are protecting me from getting hurt, but lying makes you even more of a dumb girl. My voice raised with each word. Listen, I just wanted a ride. I can walk the rest of the way if you stop, she said nervously. Oh yeah, how are you gonna walk in those stupid shoes? Just let me drop you off and we can be done with this night. I didn't meet you and you didn't meet me, I yelled. What are you doing? She's gorgeous. You're screwing this up. I reached for my syringe with the tranquilizer in it. She can be yours forever. You just have to teach her. I was finally gonna do it. I was finally going to make her mine forever. She doesn't know what's best for her, but I do. She sat there, tears falling from her green eyes. She pressed herself against the door, scarred, wanting to get out. This road was empty, and no one would know. Hey, I'm sorry, don't cry. Come here, give me your hand, I said gently. No, screw you. You're a monster, let me out. She yelled, hitting my window and pulling at the handle. Child locks are useful. I finally saw what set her off. A finger. I forgot to clean up from my previous night. That girl was feisty. I hid the needle under my palm and tried to stick her while I was driving. As the needle became exposed, she gripped my arm and bent it backwards until a loud snap happened. It broke. She jumped from her seat onto my shoulder. She finally got close enough to me. But it was just to grab the steering wheel and turn us into the only other vehicle on this road. I thought we were in love. I thought we would be together forever. I guess we have a whole afterlife to get to know each other. I woke up to the sound of my head hitting the horn as I dozed off. Weird. Let's try this again. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And also, big thanks to my patrons. And if you want to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Thank you so much, and have beautiful nightmares.